Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Barony of Olives. I am your game master, Eric Campbell, and we are here with the StreamPunks, Gina, Sam, and Adriana, and we are going to be playing Changeling the Dreaming, a game that was published in the mid to late 90s about fairies and terribleness. Or maybe that's just my interpretation of tonight's planned session.
What?
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. So
my dog just ran in here because he was alarmed.
I must come give Gina glamour quickly.
He straight up came, booped me on the ankle, and then left. It was just like, here you go.
You got a scooter from Scooter?
I got a
You got a bunk. Immediately.
I got a bunk.
You got a bunk immediately.
Wow.
So tonight we are jumping back into the game session. You will notice that we are down 2 of our Kithane, and that is because people are very, very busy doing very cool stuff. So we will continue and soldier on without them, and remember to tell them where we buried their characters' bodies. But until then, we're going to go ahead and do some quick announcements. First off the top, we just wanted to once again take this moment to thank everybody again for the smashing success of the fundraiser. An update was posted today about all of the unlocks of the fundraiser. For those of you who are interested in finding out the damage you did, it is now available to you on the Coffee and the Patreon as to some of the stuff that was unlocked and is coming. One of the things that was unlocked, this is a big deal, particularly for Sam and I, because if you only knew the odyssey of what Sam and I have gone through, it is finally happening. We are running Council of Worms, a short campaign of the Council of Worms. We are returning to the Io's Blood island chain, and this was a game that I originally ran. Council of Worms is a D&D setting that is near and dear to my heart. It was one of those weird sort of side D&D settings that not a lot of people were playing towards the end of 2nd edition, and it never got picked up since. For those of you who don't know, it is essentially a game setting where the players all play dragons from the time of the hatchling all the way up to Great Worm, which is back in D&D times, in 2nd edition times, that was an age category. But as it were, we are going to be jumping back into that. So I'm very excited to announce that is happening. Also, what's a lot of fun is Aliza managed to convince the crew of the Blood of the Void to come back. So the Klingons will be reuniting, and I will be guest starring as a sexy NPC Orion with rippling abs and a penchant for Latino captains. So I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see what else is going on. I'll leave it at that for now. But there is one other thing. Yeah, you reminded me. I'm not going to forget. Tomorrow night, Sam and I, the last Tuesday of every month, Sam and I continue playing a one-on-one shot that we have been doing for a while now called They Rode on Wolf, which is a tabletop RPG based on Forbidden Lands by Free League Publishing. They do this great RPG that Sam and I fell in love with ages ago. We've been running this one-on-one game now for a while. It's been going on for I don't know how many months now, but the story's been advancing pretty well, I think now. It's been half a year, about 6 months. Longer than that, right? It's got to be longer than that, I think.
Well, you could go to our coffee if you're a companion tier or higher and look at how many episodes are in the backlog, because all of those episodes are in the backlog and you can see them there.
Yeah, and the episodes are about 2 hours long, so it's easier to catch up on than your standard TTRPG session. So do check that out. Sam and I are going to be telling the next chapter of They Rode on Wolf tomorrow night, and that is on our Discord. It's not live streamed on Twitch. It's exclusively for our subscribers. Right now, it's only happening exclusively on Discord, so there's a limited amount of spaces of people that can come and watch us at the moment. We'll see what we can do about fixing that. But right now, the demand is perfect and the space is perfect. So if you want to check it out, do come in and check it out.
The game mastering is also perfect. Please.
Oh, thank you. It's an original world of our creating, so it's easy because you can't get anything wrong. Although you could argue that
there is Wolf Friend. The whole of my pitch. Go have fun.
Yeah. Fun fact, and a lot of people forget this, is They Rode on Wolf is an RPG that is literally inspired by a dream that I had that I pitched to Sam and Sam said, please turn that into a game, and here we are. So anyway, that's all of the announcements I've got. Does anybody else have any announcements of stuff that they're up to or live streams that they're doing or anything like that they would like to talk about?
Not really.
Oh. No, I was just going to let it linger so it could get awkward.
I can't talk about it.
You can't talk about it yet?
Someone else go.
Somebody else go. I can tell you that I can give a quick update too. I guess this is kind of like adding on to everything I just said. We have been getting a lot of questions about Clear Skies Frontier. That show is in development right now, and more stuff will come about that as soon as that there is something to sell you. We've been getting a lot of questions about that. So it's by the way, it is nice to see some of the old Ox crew rolling out of the woodwork and saying hi and asking questions about Clear Skies Frontier. We will keep you posted. That's all I've got. Anybody else? Yes, Sam.
I finally, and we've talked about this in pre-show on previous episodes, but I wanted to surprise you all during the announcements. I finally got my SUA card. I have video evidence that I fit in a suitcase.
Whoa.
We're going to save so much money when we finally get to do the D&D in a castle thing.
What?
I
fit in a suitcase.
Amazing.
There's a whole video about it.
That's what you meant. That's what you meant.
It's great. And I'm excited.
Noise.
I think on that note, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's story of the Barony of Olives. Welcome back. And tonight is going to be a very interesting night of Changeling the Dreaming. Let's go ahead and kick off where we left off. Where we left off, you were all in the near dreaming, if you remember correctly. You had entered into a trod. You'd stepped through the portal, and you had entered essentially the first layer, as it were, the world of dreams. You left behind the autumn world, that which you all are most familiar with, maybe except with the exception of Holly. Holly, as merfolk, kind of exist in the boundaries of the near dreaming. However, the rest of you, this is your first time stepping through. Breaching into the near dreaming is an experience that every changeling is nervous and excited about, is the two ways to put it. You're literally kind of entering into the world of Fantasia, as it were. You're getting one step closer to a world of raw possibility and imagination. And not in the fun Willy Wonka way. It's in the everything way. The dreaming is a place where all things of human dreams, hopes, fears, all of it exists and manifests here. But it's also a world of staggering beauty and possibility. And that has been made very clear to all of you as you've entered into this sweeping green landscape of casts like gentle warm breezes and swaying tall grasses, and the occasional strange animal creature that comes wandering along and makes polite conversation before heading along his way. You also see spectacular sights like what birds that fly over the head that you in the autumn world might look like seagulls, but here bear a striking resemblance to the phoenix. Flocks of them flying overhead. It's hard to say what they are or not. They could just be multicolored birds with striking tails and feathers, but suffice to say, it's all pretty spectacular. The crystal blue skies overhead, the sun that's shining down on the Pacific Ocean. Though here in the near dreaming, you're seeing strange shapes surface on the waters and submerge once again. None of them being ominous per se, but let's just say that the creatures of the near dreaming, Holly, you'd be more familiar with them. Here, here the ocean takes a completely different turn and looks something more of like the dreams that people might have about the ocean. Think of it like that. Also, we've spotted here, off in the distance, the near dreaming is known for being a mirror reflection of the autumn world, meaning that in the near dreaming, the things that exist in the autumn world are reflected here in the near dreaming. The near dreaming is that which is closest to the autumn world. You're just one step away from the life you all left. You're not deeper into the dreaming yet. You're not into the far dreaming or the deep dreaming where things get absolutely never-ending story out of your mind, like Dark Crystal kind of stuff. Here, things have you were expecting to see things having a vague sort of reflection or manifestation of what the autumn world would be like if it was brought into the dreaming. In your times learning of being Kithane, you've been told about this stuff. If a building exists in the near dream, if the building exists in the autumn world and is a place of glamour or a place where inspiration happens, like a school or a record shop, maybe, it'll probably have a reflection here in the near dreaming. And it might be the home to who knows, and it might be a freehold or something similar, a place of gathering. Who knows how it manifests here? That has been made clear to you, at least this much, because from where you all stepped out of this trod and entered into the near dreaming, in the distance, you've been able to spot what would look like the manifestation of Imogen's school of etiquette, your destination, the place you're trying to go. Now, remember, the whole reason you decided to make this incredible journey in the first place was because you're kind of looking for the back door. You're kind of looking to find out where the trod is, if there is a trod in the college. The idea is that maybe here on this side of the doorway in the near dreaming, that it would be easier to locate where there might be a path back into the autumn world. It's a shot in the dark, but it's worth a try. Very least, it'll be easier, supposedly, to get in than sneaking around a mortal's courtyards, as it were, and breaching security and everything else you'd have to do. Here, you're kind of playing by your rules. Interestingly enough, Imogen's school does appear to have a reflection here in the near dreaming. You've been able to see it in the distance, and oh boy, was it not what you were expecting. So up until this point, the Motley has really just kind of looked at Imogen's school of etiquette as a place that was going to be rife with banality and boring and annoying and filled with irritating authority figures and so on and so forth. That has not turned out to be the case. Instead, you've detected the presence of the trod for one, but you haven't detected any overt, immediate, like, waves of banality coming from the place either. And now to see it manifesting in the inner dreaming is raising a lot of questions. Plus, it seems to be quite ominous. It looks like a great old manor on the hill, like a giant haunted house in the distance, with crackles of lightning streaking down from a cloud-ridden sky. And between you and this ancient haunted house is a forest that could best be described as Mirkwood. It just looks like a big, dark, ancient forest that's ominously looming in front of all of you. And even for those of you who have a penchant for the strange and unexplainable, this forest still kind of exudes a sense of foreboding. When we last left off, you were all beginning your journey in that direction. And I would like to say, just because we're picking up after a couple of weeks, just a small little note. And I'm going to give this to you, Sam, because what I have noticed, what I have noticed is that sometimes in the throng of getting used to a new game system, a new setting, sometimes we're kind of overexposed to information and things can get lost. And I made a note of this, so I want to make sure it doesn't get lost. So I'm going to give this to Holly, nagging at you in the back of your mind, Holly, kind of just chewing on your patience a little bit. Something about that last exchange with the Baron just doesn't sit with you. It just doesn't sit right.
No, it doesn't. I remember it. My notes even remember it.
All right. We're picking up now. And we are going to say that Skeeta and Ruby are here with you. The two of them are walking side by side right now, just kind of taking in the sights. In particular, Ruby's chimerical little purple tiger is appearing and disappearing. Literally leaping up to the tall grass and then vanishing back down. Leaping up and then vanishing again. Leaping up and vanishing. You're just seeing this little purple face just whoop, whoop, as Pipsqueak continues to just bound up and down and up and down and up and down like they're playing a game of peekaboo with everybody. It is as close as you could probably get to a baby purple Tigger. You are all headed in the direction of the forest, and it's a goodly distance away. What would you all like to do? And do you have any... Is there anything you would all like to do, or is the direction you're heading the direction you wish to continue heading? What is the Motley up to?
I would like to do cartwheels.
Easy enough. You just see, I mean, it's that chaos of cloth as Aisling does a cartwheel and just the black dress just flowing everywhere as she just disappears into the high grass and stands up again.
Sorry, a what?
Oh.
She okay?
Hi. Yes, I am fine.
Rather
I
excited.
can't do those, Ruby just proclaims.
It's sort of a playful mode of transportation. And she does another one.
And you see she's just going towards the towards a low hill, heading towards the forest. If she makes it to the hill, she would like to tumble down it.
Easy enough. Yep. The grass is soft and cool, and every impact you have upon the soil, it just cushions you as you roll all the way down this hill. You just watch her just like, again, chaos of limbs as she goes tumbling down this hill and just
So many limbs.
When she gets to the bottom of the hill, she looks like a knotted mat of hair until she untwists. And then
I just had a lot of pent-up energy I think I needed to release.
she says 20 feet away, I guess.
You see her mouth moving, and you get the gist of what she is saying. But as usual, when Aisling talks, if you're not within a foot or 5 feet of her, you have no idea what she just said.
I think her shadow behind her is like dusting off angrily, just like, just like, you know.
And again, it's the shadow is much more defined too.
Mm-hmm.
And the expression never changed. The baleful, like yellowish green eye that kind of shines out from the darkness, that single, which looks like kind of half of a face that's just in fury. It's just kind of dusting itself off. As though there were something to dust off. It just kind of goes through the motions.
I would like to find a twig.
Easy enough. Sifting through the soil, it's easy enough to pull up a twig.
Great. I hold it like a fencer.
Okay.
Since we are about to go into the forest, and we are in a slightly compromised area of, the dreaming, I need a different weapon than the one you all have seen. Just a gentler one. So, she sort of sheathes it on one of the belts that she has, like a loop of cloth or something, and she just sheathes it, and then stands very proud at the bottom of this hill.
Aisling, you can feel as you're doing this as you assume the fencer's position and then you sheathe it, you can feel your shadows staring at you intently.
It's rude to stare.
Unblinking. It continues to stare.
That's fine. We'll work on it.
And I think Aisling is there from previously, like I would say about 10 minutes ago, where it was utter terror and awe and astonishment at communicating with her shadow.
Mhm.
I think there's the further we get into the dreaming, there's a sense of relief at feeling playful.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that she's communicating fearlessly right now.
Mhm.
And so there's some energy radiating off of her. And maybe it's just because we're getting closer to a spooky forest.
Yeah. Here on the boundaries of the forest where the three of you are approaching, you can see these trees look like... It looks vaguely like the fire swamp. Without necessarily all of the muddy ground. Instead, you have what looks like a very lush looking forest filled with, again, more tall grasses everywhere in between the trees. Lots of bushes and looks like dying thorn bush, like rose bushes. You can see like growing up around the base of some of these tree lines. The trees themselves look gnarled and knotted, twisted, and kind of warped around and angled up. And some of them actually kind of grow sideways. As you're getting a little closer, it's starting to look a little something like out of the Mad Hatter's dream. You can see like some of these trees look like they just grew sideways, or some of them look like they're growing out of another tree, like literally rooted into another tree trunk and are just gnarled up and twisted around one of the other trees. A few of them vaguely resemble people trying to escape from trees, like somebody froze in place while they were being eaten by one and became part of the tree itself. You can see a little bit of like, it could be your imagination, but that's just how the knotwork seems to form on these branches and these trunks. There is no obvious path, but there's plenty of space to enter into the forest itself. There's lots of space between these trunks. Yes. What's up, Holly?
Normally, as I would be going over like tall grasses, soil, it's not exactly the wheelie thing's favored terrain, but this is the near dreaming, and so
Correct.
I'm curious, does it offer the usual resistance, or is it moving easier, like it's drawing me in or inviting me to be here? Is it making itself easier for me to be?
It's more whimsical than that, in fact. For the truth is the way it seems to operate is the way somebody who's not watching the continuity on their script might operate when filming a movie. You might not, there's just inexplicably, it's fine to move through the terrain. Like it's a natural accepted mode of movement, and the physics of moving across soil doesn't seem to be affecting it whatsoever. The dreaming just seems to be like, Holly's moving forward, and so they do. Is kind of what you're experiencing. Again, it's like the way I describe it is somebody who maybe wrote a movie about a wheeler going into the woods, didn't do their research, and so just that wheeler's not having any problems in the final edit. They just can go. It's kind of that same sort of impetus, like that same sort of whimsy is kind of how the dreaming is manifesting your ability to move through here without problems.
Cool.
So there's no terrain difficulties for you at all.
Awesome. I was going for characterization and instead we attacked.
Oh yeah.
Then yes, I will carry forward smoothly.
There's an echoing of like birds chirping off in the distance of this forest. You think you can hear the sounds of wildlife. There's also a faint wind that blows through here, but each of you is going to need to make a kenning check, if you would please. And the difficulty is 5. It is also worth noting that cantrips are considerably easier in the near dreaming. So keep that in mind. That was one of the things you might have been told, is that they are considerably easier.
It's been so silly on land.
Is it
Yep.
perception, Kenning?
Perception kenning.
Ah, dang! I was hoping it was wits.
Well, I tell you what. I'll let you do wits because this is more of a feeling as well. So if you don't want to do perception, I'll allow wits.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
It's scary when you're nice and generous at first.
Well, y'all are in the dreaming. This is where changelings thrive. So you're kind of on home turf.
Yeah, I
Closer
thrived
to
with a 1.
One success, or you rolled a 1?
1 success.
Oh, okay, you're good. 4. How did Aisling do? You're muted. Aisling is going full sluaw right now.
Yeah. Am I allowed to use either hidden magic or there's no one here, so not insightful. But unless you want me to be insightful about the trees.
No, the trees aren't really
Okay.
surrendering any secrets at the
Weird
moment. I
people
would just say
trees.
no specialties would apply here.
Okay. No hidden magic? Okay. Then 5.
Well, no. Yeah, I would say there is hidden magic. Yes.
Okay, then 1 second.
Yes.
6.
6 freaking successes. Okay.
You are having me roll right now my highest stat.
I know. It's what Aisling does.
Give me your secrets.
This just looks like a scary looking spooky forest.
Don't see what's so special about this place, but at least somebody is excited to be here.
Do you mean me? I don't notice. I'm too distracted.
That's good. At least one of us is comfortable.
Holly, for you, something is terribly off about this place. It doesn't feel unnatural. It feels like you're in the dreaming. It just feels dangerous somehow. Not as bright and happy as the place you're coming from. This place actually feels genuinely like frightening somehow. Anxiety inducing. Survival instinct kicking in here. Just be on the edge of it. You kind of feel like an animal who is just like, maybe don't go into the creepy old shack in the middle of the woods where there's a meat hook hanging outside kind of feeling. You're like, I don't know if this forest, I don't know about that.
Danger like the sea.
Yeah. Yeah. For another way of translating it, Aisling or Holly, it's that same feeling you might get if you were swimming near kelp bed forest and you saw dark shapes moving around where the sea lions were swimming. Maybe I don't go swimming there right now.
What if I didn't?
What if I didn't? What if I stay away for now? Aisling.
Yes.
This place is seething with darkness. And it is absolutely a place of dread and nightmare. You can tell just from being on the edge of it. You can feel the way the glamour flows through the trees here, the way the dreaming is manifest in front of all of you. This place is a place of nightmare, to be sure. You're entering into something that feels completely different than the landscape you just skipped through.
Yes.
And in front of you, the woods ahead of you, it feels much more, to add on to what Holly is sensing, it feels like this is going to be a very dangerous journey going into these woods.
As Aisling is scanning the tree line and making eye contact with every knot in each trunk, and her body starts to stretch and starts to look a little bit like Other Mother, just like a little bit as she's tapping into the energy that is looking for hidden magic and feeling this place. She looks back at the two of you, and her shadow stays looking at the forest. And she just says, "Is this what I feel like?"
Holly, with your successes, I can give Sam feedback here as to how you can translate this. Aisling feels like Tim Burton. This forest feels like Nightmare on Elm Street.
I got half of that.
You got half of it. Gain half an XP. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I round down in this one. Whoops. Oh, dang it.
Oops.
This place.
Go ahead.
This place feels like the hungry sharks. You feel like the sea anemone. Sting for some, home for others.
There is a visible melting over Aisling's form as she kind of settles into the earth from hearing that.
Uh-huh.
And just kind of gives a nod and turns back towards the forest. That was a good.
All right. And then Sam killed Gina. The end.
Oh my god.
Well, I guess we shall press on into this. Hopefully it's more spooky on the outside than the inside, right?
It most definitely isn't.
Okay.
But you're strong and you have a big bag and you can keep us safe.
Yes.
So why would you be worried?
It's just... It's rather dark and...
Do you have the heebie-jeebies?
Well, no. Well...
It's okay to say you're afraid.
I just don't know what to expect in there, and it's...
Dark things. What's a heebie-jeebie? Like a bad feeling.
Like...
I also think it's some sort of creature, but I've never met one.
Well, let's hope we do not tonight.
Mm.
A bad one. There could be good ones, I'm sure.
Sure. Shall we? Holly will add make friends with the heebie-jeebie to their mental to-do list, and then yes, we'll proceed.
Okay.
All right, let's go. And Gara will kind of walk ahead, still behind Ashley, but, you know, kind of ahead.
I will take the lead. I don't mind.
Thank you.
The shadow of the trees that pass over you make it feel like you've literally just stepped into a whole nother world again. As you enter in the forest and the sun that was shining from seemingly nowhere in that endless clear blue sky, as you step in, the shadow just passes over you like a dark blanket. And the moment the three of you, well, I should say the five of you, enter into the woods, it's enough that it causes each one of you to have the instinct to just look back to compare to where you just stepped in to see where you're coming from. And when you do look back, the canopy, the trees, the opening that you all just stepped through is about 60 yards away. like you took one step and you're down a long hallway. You can see the boundary of the forest that you just walked into is a good run from where you are right now, or roll as it were. You can see it like you just barely entered the forest and it's already in the background. You are surrounded by these trees. You are surrounded by these noises.
Yeah, I'm just picturing that.
The lens. Like the
the dolly zoom.
Very, very similar.
Gira kind of like stiffens up her posture and starts messing with her like palms a little bit, but keeps a stiff upper lip.
Very close to the side of your ear, all of a sudden, you just hear Aisling say, "Well, look at that. We already traveled so much further than we thought."
Yes, we did. How convenient.
What's striking about that, Gira, is Aisling's voice sounds unusually loud for her because of how quiet it is in the forest. You can hear sounds of like birds chirping in the distance and echoing sounds from rock walls. You're not sure what it even is you're hearing, but Aisling's voice sounds more defined and pronounced and easier to understand. So when she whispers in your ear, it's almost like you're not used to hearing her in high def.
Yeah, it jolts a little bit.
Right.
Whisper.
I slink away, never having that problem. I usually have to say it again and get closer. So you get a shrink away in apologetic eyes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scream.
You're fine. It's just I'm not used to hearing you up close so much, I guess.
I know it's deafening, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rather quiet everywhere else, I guess. Yeah. How is that? How is that? Shouldn't question it.
Shouldn't you always?
Question a nightmare.
Everything.
I suppose if you want to take it seriously.
We might have to.
I want to dig up under some rocks. See if there's any spiders or bugs we can ask for directions.
Okay.
Good plan.
Sounds good.
I'll stand watch.
Gira.
Yes, Holly.
It's very dark in here, and I don't want us to get separated. Would you mind taking my hand?
Of course. Yes. And Yara reaches out towards their hand and just like gently holds it.
Thank you. I feel much, much better now.
You're very sweet.
Thank you.
We're gonna be fine. It's just I don't understand what just happened there. It's a little dark. I can't hear any birds. I don't like these kinds of forests. I like the bright ones with chirping sparrows and whatnot.
Were you getting ketchup fights?
Maybe different ones from that one. That one was a bit dry and dead. What's with the forests out here?
You should come visit my forest sometime.
I would love that.
Okay.
I just might take some time for me to get ready and prepare myself to explore.
Of course, I understand. Have you found any yet?
As you're pulling up the rock, Aisling, you found this nice sizable rock. As you're pulling it up, I'll spare you the details. But essentially, this strange tearing sensation gets context when you pull it up and realize that the blood that's collected underneath this rock that is now flowing out, you begin to realize as you've pulled this rock out of the mud, it's kind of, for a second, your brain is trying to process, what? Wait, what? You hear a low moan off in the distance, like it's surrounding all of you, not coming from anywhere in particular. And you just see this strange under layer to the mud itself where you see blood just spurt up a little bit. And you realize this rock, lifting it out of the mud, has had the same reaction as if you had dug your fingers and tore a scab up.
I was just thinking that. I'm sorry. I set the rock back down in the exact same spot and then try to gather some dead leaves to like soak up some of the blood.
Some of the blood, yeah. You just push it all over the. It looks like a rock in the mud. Even as you lay it back down and the blood just rises to the surface, you kind of put some of the leaves around it.
I'm terribly sorry.
And the leaves start to just settle in on top of the thick, rancid, thick red liquid.
I stand up now with a lot of blood all in my arm.
Yeah, just blood dripping off your fingertips.
I think I may have scratched the forest.
Scratch? What do you mean?
Well, I think it might be alive.
Everyone, if you would please, make a perception plus alertness check with a difficulty of 6.
I'm so glad you said scab. It was the first thing I thought, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it because that makes my skin crawl as I'm describing it. I was trying to avoid it. And I'm like, there's no way to avoid it.
No, I would have said it. I would have said it. So
That was awesome.
Alertness and what was alertness and kenning?
Perception and alertness. Yeah.
Perception and alertness. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So default, and don't worry, I'll keep reminding everybody because we're still getting used to it. But like the default like perception roll in these old school White Wolf games is perception plus alertness. So that's I'm basically having y'all roll perception check.
Okay. I got a 4.
Force. Okay. How'd the rest of y'all do? 0. Holly is too horrified by the strange bleeding forest ground.
I don't have context for anything.
Yeah.
This is second forest. That's apparently not ketchup. That's not ketchup in a forest. I've had ketchup in a forest, and now we have not ketchup. 0.
0. Oh, you're muted again, Ashley.
Apologies. Is the difficulty a 6 or a 7?
That's 6.
Okay, I got 2.
Okay. So Holly, you're just kind of mesmerized by the strange, morbid organic sight you just saw, and trying to put that into context as you're observing this. You're pretty sure that's not what you've been told were under rocks in forests. That's unusual. That's when the two of you, Aisling and Gira, in the distance, at about the same time it all happens. First of all, the two of you hear the sound of someone going, ah, ah, like an echoing of someone shouting. And it's at that moment, as the two of you hear the sound and instinctively glance at each other and look around, that you realize Ruby and Skeeto are no longer with the three of you. They're just not there.
I draw my twig.
Twig comes out.
Yara, like, instinctually, like, had her fists up.
I thought someone was keeping watch.
Watching what?
Gira, Ruby, and Skeeto, they're gone.
I lost them.
How many successes did you get, Gira, on your perception
I got
check?
4.
4? There's no footprints of them even following you into the woods. They were here just a moment ago. There's no sign that they were ever here.
How could
Hey.
I was looking. I could hear. It was so quiet. I could hear everything, and suddenly.
I have a theory. It's possible that maybe when we all entered the forest, maybe they entered somewhere else.
Because we turned around and we were already really far in?
Yeah, maybe. Would someone else mind yelling for them?
Yes. Absolutely.
This-
Skeeta! Ruby!
I'm just waiting for Ferocia to come darting into the room and just leaping up onto the bed.
3 syllables versus 2. I got that.
Calling out, 2 things you notice is when you're in like if you've ever been outside where there's just nowhere for your voice to bounce off of, it sounds like you're just shouting out to nothing. You don't know how far your voice carries. It almost sounds muted as it just calls out, which is odd because you are hearing echoes through the woods, and you are hearing, the 2 of you at least are hearing some shouting noises in the distance.
The forest is
But
keeping us contained.
Maybe it's mad I popped a pimple.
Is this thing alive?
Yes.
Did we just walk into its mouth?
That seems like it would be a cave, right?
Can I taste the air? Does it feel particularly stomachy?
No.
Or mouthy?
No.
Is it a mouthy forest?
It kind of has that if you've ever been on like early morning walks or travels
Yes.
near wooded areas where the dew is kind of fresh and it's like cool early morning, that's kind of what the air tastes like. It just kind of, it's fresh. There's nothing that the air in fact itself does not feel oppressive or it doesn't have a sense of nefariousness to it or anything like that. You don't see it, smell or sense anything wretched about the air.
Nothing unusual to other forests. All forests smell like decay and rebirth.
Right, but they don't quite bleed.
No. But they do in the dreaming.
And again,
Stella?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you know where the screaming came from?
Yes. Do I? Did
Yeah,
Yara?
you guys have a pretty good idea of where it's coming from. It doesn't have the same sort of low moan that you all heard moments ago when Aisling was looking into the rock. This actually sounds like it's coming from a direction.
Right. Well, across that way. Shall we?
I'll link up, yes.
Okay.
All right, the 3 of you link up. Anxiously moving forward, the fact that 2 of your Motley have vanished rather suddenly with, again, no sign that they ever followed you in. At the very least, where you all are right now, the grass, this beautiful tall grass that you've been moving through, it at least looks like it's pressed where people have walked through. And you can see your tracks in the places where you've moved through. But where Ruby and Skeeta were, there's no sign that anyone was ever there.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Did we get any glamour back for cantrips when we entered the dreaming?
I think I gave everyone 1 glamour, didn't I? As soon as you entered the dreaming, I feel like
I think we got 1, but I wasn't sure.
I have a total of 1 right now.
Okay.
I suspect that's from the dreaming. I don't know if we also got Balefire glamour, but like I think we only got 1 of those 2.
Only 1 for the
getting
moment. Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is, Aisling, we turned on all of our location services. What does Aisling's phone look like in the dreaming?
Roaming.
Right?
It is here and it does exist. Things
Yeah.
from the autumn world can live and exist here in the dreaming. It just says it's searching for service. It doesn't,
But it
it's
looks
not
like a cell
registering any
phone?
service.
How
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah, no, that when you bring things from the autumn world into the dreaming, they
They look
don't
like things?
change their shape or form, which is why
Interesting.
poor mortals are usually just completely confounded and look a little out of place in the dreaming if they ever get into the near dreaming.
Good to know.
Yep.
Oh.
I think shouldn't we leave some kind of marker for Skeeta and Ruby so they know where we went?
Yes. Like Does anyone have any candy or thread or
I gave the clothes back.
yes. Oh. Okay. Oh. I take off a scarf. I just have so many clothes on still because we still came from the park. No, we slept over. No, we're okay. But I still have a lot of clothes on. I take
Yeah,
off
that's how I know I
something.
returned it, because
I
we went back to the
know.
house of the person I borrowed it from, and I don't have a lot of inventory. I'm a fish.
I know. Aisling takes off one of either a petticoat or a scarf or something, just some excess. And like you see her face break as she rips the thread from this piece. And it just, she's doing it, and you could see that her mouth is open, but there is no scream or cry coming out of it. But she is like screaming as she's having to dismantle an antique. And just she like silent, and with every step as she goes to a tree limb, just she like ties a string around a tree, like a piece of the bark, and then as she pulls back, it starts to unravel and leaves a trail.
Okay.
And her face looks horrified.
Aisling is finally starting to understand the terrors of this wood.
Aisling's sacrificed a lot. Please don't mess with that. Thank you.
I've made my request of the forest.
Maybe we could find something in here after this forest that can fix it and make it right again.
Like Skeeta. Remember the pipe?
Oh, yes. That's true. Yes. Yes, we'll compile the yarn after.
We'll get you nice cloth threads. They'll be very fancy and have ruffles and stuff. You like ruffles, right? Ruffles are good.
Ruffles are wonderful, wonderful things. They adorn such lovely things.
Just
distracting her into thinking about other stuff now. Like,
yeah. Starts describing sewing techniques to you as we walk.
Nicely done. All right. Well, as the three of you begin to move towards the sounds that you're hearing, the shouting off into the forest, the wood around you continues to feel a little more and more menacing. The three of you can't help but feel like
the four of us.
Oh, the four of you. Well, no, number four is having a bit of a different experience than the three of you are.
Oh, okay.
The four of you are feeling the oppressive, like the force seems angry, filled with some kind of gnarled, bitterness. Like when jealousy just becomes pure anger, when it hits that point where it begins to transition into a whole new level of nasty. The forest itself feels this. Your shadow is looking more pronounced and looking more whole the deeper you go. Whereas before, it just seemed like a cloud in humanoid shape with an eye moving and walking. It's starting to resemble more and more of a humanoid figure with more defined features.
Interesting. Is it standing? I was picturing it like on the ground, following me.
It does. It kind of does a little of A, a little of B.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things where if you look at it directly, it's on the ground. But when you're not looking at it directly,
when it's just out of view.
Yeah. Like a nightmare. Like it's just there. but to look at it directly, it feels like it's just your Peter Pan shadow kind of following you around.
Oh, it's just a figure on the edge of your eyes
Yes,
always.
it's a thing that you see on the edge of your vision.
Like my sleep paralysis demon.
Mhm.
That may have been some inspiration for this.
Yeah. As you approach the sounds of the shouting, the scene that greets your eyes as you emerge from one of the tree lines is a scene of desperation and violence. You see what looks like some kind of ape-like shadowy creature that has hands sticking up out of its back. It's about maybe about 7 feet at the shoulder, kind of hunched over. It looks like it doesn't. It looks vaguely humanoid, but it literally looks like an amalgam of different envisioned nightmarish body parts combined to form some kind of creature that doesn't have any defined features beyond these haunting greenish hateful eyes that are burning out from underneath these cloudy shadow-like figures. It is currently like groping at the trunk of a tree. In the tree itself, you see what looks like, at least size-wise, to be an 11-year-old child. The child is kicking and screaming, borderline terror, but also anger. Like, get away from me, you butt face, kind of like childish anger. Curiously enough, though, the child does not look like a human child. The child looks like it might be genderless, probably 11-year-old, wearing what looks like some kind of very well-crafted vest and torn maybe slacks or leggings of some kind, well-tailored, well-made, no shoes. Skin is made out of tree bark. And fingers are articulating and moving. It looks like the child's made out of wood. Beautiful, brilliant amber-colored eyes, and all of these large banana-style leaves that are just cascading over the side of their head that resemble hair. And this kid is just going, no, you're not eating me. You're not eating me. And is like kicking at this thing as it's trying to grab at him. And it's just going, the kid looks quite scared and is up in the lowest branch of one of these gnarled, twisted trees. There's a wide enough clearing where there's space to move. But again, it's not a big like glaive or anything like that. You guys are still in the woods. So there's still trees and rocks all around.
Yeah. Yara like snapped out of it and has just dropped everything and like unhooked arm and is bounding towards this freaking monster attacking this child. Just back in fighter mode. Now she can see something and beat it up, so she feels a little more at home.
Chloricon cracks her knuckles. Oh, it's MMA time. Like you dash. Okay, you all see at that particular moment, Gira just unhooks her arm and just dashes towards this scene. What are the rest of you doing?
I would like to scare this creature. That is my intention.
Okay.
They are being very wicked.
They are indeed. As a quick reminder, as now we're getting into some dice rolls coming up, you guys do have story points. So keep that in mind. Because with 3 of you, y'all are probably going to need to spend a few of them.
It's a very good point. Holly is going to focus on moving up to the youth.
Okay. Sort of rolling
they
up.
have their chairs hopscotch to get up there.
Okay.
Which will have recharged by now.
All right, the 3 of you enter into the clearing then. As you're all moving in that direction, the youth spots you all immediately, and the expression, it's not like fine polished wood. It literally looks like tree bark. Like it's rough and creviced and deep, rich brown color. And you can see the eyebrows of the child. It's really accentuating that beautiful amber orbs of eyes. That being said, even with that much going on, you can see the expression of excitement as the 3 of you are charging forward, and they start waving their hands like, hey, as the 3 of you start riding up. And at about that point, I'm going to have y'all roll initiative. So the way this is going to work is everyone is going to make your, well, let's see, actually, well, I think you probably would roll initiative on this one, Holly, because even though you're not technically throwing yourself into combat, it'd be good to know where you're going in the turn order.
Yeah, well, I'm also working towards something that could be a protect action. I'm working on extricating someone from the combat. I'm involved.
Yes, you are involved, as they say.
I've involved myself.
I've involved myself.
Oh dear, not again.
All right, then let's go ahead and make your initiative checks. So, does everybody remember how this works? You're gonna roll your. Actually, it depends. Let me go ahead and let me do. Hold on. There's a few moving parts to this combat because I'm mapping it out with this NPC, but I've also got the creature that's coming at you. So give me 1 second here. Okay. Now, does he have the ability to? Let's double check. Don't worry, y'all will be fine. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be heroes. No one's eating the kid. No one's eating you guys. That's not happening.
Well, no, I'm not hungry. Why would I eat the?
When suddenly the dogs are like, "I'm hungry."
Sam.
Okay, yeah. Let's do Dex plus alertness rolls and get on it. Make your Dex plus alertness checks if you would, please. And that is, by the way, that is rolling a single die. So you're going to roll 1d10 and add your rating to your combined rating to that. Okie dokie. Okie dokie then.
Also okie dokie.
All right. Kid. Yeah, what's 2?
I got 3. Sorry, I do the ASL 3.
3? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got a 13.
13.
9.
And how'd you do, Gita?
9 for me.
9.
That's 9, right? Okay.
All right. Well, that was just absolutely pathetic on behalf of the nightmare creature. Absolutely pathetic. All right. Right off the bat, we're going to take it in the turn order. So going first, the way this works is a quick reminder. I'm going to tell you what the lowest number in the initiative round is doing first. They're going to make their declarations, and it goes all the way up topside so that the people who go first can declare what they want to do in reaction. First up is actually the nightmare creature. And the nightmare creature is not responding to the three of you, charging in. It seems completely focused. And this turn is going to try to make a climbing check to get up into that tree because that's where the fruit is. Yummy. Next in the turn order is actually the kid. And the kid is going to wait until the creature is close enough and kick it in the face if they can. That's going to be their turn order. But next up is, how many do you get? What was it, Sam? You got how many again? 3. That's right. So Sam, what are you doing?
I'm going to be, I'm going to be hopscotching up to the kid. I assume it was of a hopscotchy kind of height, but also most things are kind of hopscotchy height for Holly. So they're going to hopscotch up, and I mean, honestly, they're also looking to keep Nightmare away from Kid, which might be the tail flap, if necessary.
Okay.
Kind of protective instinct.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And then we'll see about how Come With Me If You Want to Live kind of goes.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So that's going to be Holly. The next up is actually going to be Aisling.
Is it?
Oh, I had a 9.
Oh,
Aisling,
I had this backwards. Who had the 13? That's Aisling, right?
That's me.
Oh, I wrote it backwards. So it's actually you then, yeah. Kita.
Gira is going to go for a rear naked choke.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
All right. Then what are you going to be doing, Aisling?
My intention is to do an autumn bunk.
Okay, you're up. You get to go first.
Okay, great. As I see Gera going for a sneak attack up front, I flank off of Holly, and knowing that their eyes are affixed to the kid,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of slink away with a lingering hand to indicate which direction I'm trailing off to.
Okay.
And I'm intending to flank from the front. And as she moves, she gathers the dead leaves in scoops with her fingers, and then shoves them into her mouth and starts chewing. And as she's eating
that's
all
your
of these
bunk?
dead leaves, yeah.
That's a good bunk. I'm gonna give. Okay. So that's gonna be part of your action then. So you get
Mhm.
up there and basically, because using bunks always costs one of the actions that you've got for the round.
Yeah.
I'm not going to penalize you for moving up there though, but y'all had pretty much free reign to engage as you saw fit, and the thing's not paying attention to you. So no movement action calculation here. You basically dash up there, shoving this into your mouth. I'm going to say that's a rank 2 bunk. So I'm going to drop the difficulty from 6 down to 5. So it's 4. Difficulty of what you're about to pull is 4. As you shove all the scooping up these leaves and shoving it into your mouth.
Okay.
Doing this ritualistic horror thing that you're doing.
Yes. And as I'm doing it, with every chew, her intention is to, I'm going to do a cantrip. The hope is to do a creeping shadow.
Creeping shadows. The changeling commands nearby shadows to bend to her whim. A satyr summons the shadows of a reluctant performer to dance with her. A sluagh can curdle nightmare shadows into a bully's bedroom, into the other side of theater, and make it into a theater of menace. So this basically the realm selected. So which realms are you going to be using here? In this case, it seems like you're going to be, what are you planning on doing with shadows?
My intention is to scare this creature. How do you scare a bully? You get a bigger bully. So I want to scare it backwards away from the tree, into Gera.
Oh, I see.
So that it's caught unawares. So my intention is to make the shadow either pulling the shadow of the tree or the shadow of I want to pull the tree's shadow so that it like envelops like a cage of hands going for this creature's face.
So are you using its shadow or
the tree's shadow,
shadow
against it?
Awesome. Then
to kind of push it. I want the tree shadow of like the spindly fingers to like push this thing away.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to say that's nature.
Okay.
So,
that is the one I don't have, but that's okay. I have glamour.
You're using the tree's shadow, so you're going to be manipulating the realms of nature.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be a nature living plants. It would be a nature 3 for the realm. Yeah.
Oh, then I don't think I can do the tree.
You could do your shadow.
I'll do my shadow. I look like a spindly tree.
Yeah.
I'll use my shadow. Okay, so then then if this is the case, I'm scooping up the things, and as I'm eating, I'm fattening up my own shadow as I'm like trying to talk through the leaves while chewing, pleading with my shadow to like be spooky for me. Just it's okay. It's okay. You can just, we're gonna just like shoveling it into my mouth and asking it to bully this thing for me.
Okay.
And that is my intention. So now what am I rolling since I can't do nature?
That's probably gonna be Fae.
Okay, great. Okay, that I can do.
That's probably gonna be Fae because it's your shadow.
Yes.
Chimerical creature. In this case, I'm actually gonna say it's your shadow that you're manipulating. So I'm gonna put that as you would need Fae 1.
I have Fae 3.
Or the Fae 3, then you're gonna roll 3 dice. Yeah. So
Great.
it's Fae is gonna be what you can manipulate. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So roll Fey plus, roll your art and your realm.
Okay.
And the difficulty is 6,
4.
5. Yeah, it's 4.
2 successes.
2 successes, and you didn't have to spend glamour because you're in the near dreaming.
Great.
Um,
Okay. So she is she raises her arms like she is treating herself like a marionette puppet, and she is being a shadow puppet. And as her own shadow becomes spooky and huge behind her, with like literally to be like boo. Just like
okay. So how many successes did you get? 4?
2. I got
2. Okay. So now you're gonna roll intimidation.
Okay.
And the intimidation check, the check for the intimidation roll is immediately lowered by 2 because of the 2 successes you rolled on using this.
Okay.
So
what would it be? Wits
so
intimidation or
no, this would be manipulation plus intimidation.
manipulation?
Or I would allow a
Appearance?
Yeah, I would allow appearance.
I'll do appearance.
Yeah, I'll allow appearance intimidation check on this.
Okay.
Yeah. And the difficulty is going to be it's going to be a challenge. This is going to be you guys are rolling against each other essentially.
Okay.
But so the standard difficulty of 6 is going to drop by 2 for you.
Okay.
So you need a 4 or better. Tell me what you get.
I got 4 spooky successes.
Yeah, it got 0. 2 things that are very curious and interesting that happened just now, Aisling, is you call forth the magic of the change of the Kithane inside you. First of all, you realize that you can draw upon the ambient glamour that's around you. The second thing that happens is as it pulls forth, a shadow steps out of your shadow. The one that emerges from you looks like you. The one that emerges from the shadow just comes out and it flakes its hands, like just throws its hands open right around yours and gives you this terrible, horrifying, menacing, like overbearing cloak of darkness as you go boom. And this thing just goes, just recoils backwards and goes trying to retreat, but it can't retreat until it's turn, but it's going to absolutely be horrified.
Great.
As that completely succeeded. It is going to be backing up into Adriana's character as the Chloricon is rushing towards it. The shadow that emerged from yours looks like you manipulated your shadow. The thing that's following you around,
I have 2 shadows.
it didn't move. The creature with the baleful eye, the shadow that's been moving with you, didn't react. It's watching.
Well, while I'm thinking about that.
Yeah. That's going to be your action for the round. Then next up, we're going to have Gera.
Gera is going to be bounding towards this this creature that has been terrified by the shadows.
Absolutely terrified.
Just, which was perfect. So as it's backing up, Gera like calculates the distance she needs to kind of leap to reach like its neck, if it has a neck.
Yeah, it seems that it's not a traditional neck. It looks like the neck muscle goes right up into the jaw, but it does have a neck. Yes.
Fun challenge. Okay, so she's going to just leap and go for a rear naked, which you gotta get around the neck and. And she will grapple with her legs. She swings them around and just squeezes with all her might, especially towards the neck as well. And pins herself in there. Attempts to.
Then go ahead and make a. Well, you have a specialty, if I remember correctly, and martial arts. Oh, did you not take one? I don't remember.
Art or a realm or
no martial arts. So this would be one of your talent skills, knowledges.
Athletics, brawl. Would it be brawl?
It would be under brawl, yeah.
Yep. That's yep.
Okay.
So I will roll for brawl, right?
So you're going to roll Dex plus brawl, but you're going to tins will explode basically, and you get an extra die.
Wow.
If you've got a specialty.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, you guys can almost hear the Rocky Road of Dublin playing in the background as the Chloricon just comes dashing up there, and you just see as Gator just like leaps towards this thing, you can almost see her shoes fly off her feet as she goes sailing through the air and just wraps down onto this thing. Go ahead and make your roll. It's going to be actually at a -1 difficulty because right now it is suffering the effects of absolute abject terror and is facing down the Sluagh that manifested as nightmare creatures of the old.
Cool. Okay. 6 successes on that.
Oh, does it even bother trying? I got 1 success. All right. So, oh my God. So I have to roll soak, but what I need you to do now is I need you to roll. Oh God. So roll strength. No, wait. Because you just 6 successes.
I maxed out my brawl.
Yeah, you did. 6 successes. Hold up. Let me pull up the chart here. The meaty smack of Gator's fist slamming into this creature is it's pretty extraordinary.
Meteoric,
okay,
you could say.
What is your strength?
My strength is 4.
4. So it's going to take 4 plus
oh, my strength roll.
So you rolled 4.
No,
yeah,
that's just
you're rolling your strength now.
Okay.
So roll your strength dice.
3. 4.
Okay.
That's 4.
Okay, so this thing comes stumbling back, and as it does, you leap forward and immediately lock your arm right around its neck. Just jerk the head back as this creature kind of stumbles backwards. You see Gator with abandon just leap onto the back of this thing 300 style and wrap her arm around its neck and just jerk its head back, and its hands flail out in front of it. It stumbles to try to keep its balance, but it is locked. You basically have it in a joint lock right now. And it's with that kind of damage, I'm gonna have to roll for soak because it's gonna take at least yeah, it's gonna so it's gonna take some bashing damage from that. It's grasping at you. It is completely locked up right now.
Cool.
Completely locked up.
She just sinks her hooks in, which like her legs are just like sinking more in, and she just tightens it and kind of grumbles like, "Nice work, Ashley."
Okay. This thing is flailing in all directions. At that point, this is going to take us to Holly's round.
Yes. I would like to kaboing.
Okay,
Upward.
let's kaboing.
All right, let's kaboing.
So you're going to be using your. You don't have to spend. Thankfully, you do not have to spend.
Nope. But I mark it off for my chair.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So realms is prop. I believe we decided. Is that because you were using your treasure? And go ahead and kaboing.
All right. Woo! I assume magic doesn't explode. I mean, some magic I'm sure does explode. I think summer feels like a magic that would explode. But
okay.
Mechanically, I assume it doesn't explode, and so
it
this
doesn't
only
explode.
2.
How many successes did you get?
2.
2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, you kaboing. Holly, you're just racing across the grasses are just like parting. You can feel like the exhilaration of moving quickly on land through the woods here, something you've never done before. As you're just racing, the grass is kind of slapping against your tail as you're just kind of pushing through incredible speeds. You didn't use a bunk here, so you just kind of like lean forward and just through sheer like the spark of glamour explodes underneath the wheels and you leap through the air. And the chair, you come down right onto the branch next to the child, just kind of, we all know what it looks like because we see Sam stand on wheelies all the time. But basically, you just wheelie up onto the thing, just kind of like back and forth, rocking back and forth, and look at the kid. The kid just stares back at you, and they just go, "That was great!" Big smile as you see this like wooded teeth.
Thank you. Maybe you can do it with me after we take care of that, huh?
Nods. Hair is just kind of slapping against the forehead as the banana leaves are just like, yeah.
And I turn and I'll body block a little bit and just unfurl my tail out in case a nightmare wants to try it.
Okay.
Which I guess is a ready to action. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, so now it's going to be the kid's turn. And the kid is going to have to hold their action because they made a declaration that they were going to kick this thing in the face. Now that they're not, they're going to just cast a hold on the action so they don't get the dice penalty. And instead, it's just going to hold on to the dice pool in case they have to dodge. That takes us to the nightmare creature. And the nightmare creature is going to get a penalty and is going to desperately try to break this lock that's on him. So this is a grappler. Okay. Grapple check. The attacker grabs a target and attempts to squeeze him, causing as much damage the first turn of the grapple. The attacker does strength bashing damage, which you did. On subsequent turns, the two combatants and their initiative act on their initiative and can choose whether attempt to clinch or break the grapple. He does not have the option of clinching back at you. He's basically trying to break it because you've got him in a naked chokehold. So he doesn't have the option of choking you back. When the inflicting grapple damage, after the first turn of the grapple, okay, so on his turn, he's basically going to try to escape. Requires the character to make a resisted strength plus brawl roll against their opponent. If the character rolls more successes, they break free. If they don't, so it's strength plus brawl. So roll strength plus brawl against this muscular beastie creature. The difficulty is 6.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, what'd you get?
Explode, right?
What's 10? If you have a specialty, 10s explode, and you do.
Cool. So 2.
So 10s count as double, basically. You get 2 successes off of a 10.
3 successes. 4 plus. Oh my god. All right. That's going to be 9 successes.
You got 9 successes?
I got 2. Can a 10 explode twice? Because
it only explodes. 10s give you 2 automatic successes.
Yeah, and then I got another 10 at the very end.
Oh. Yeah, so that's 4 total from just that. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, you don't re-roll them. You just get 2 auto successes.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I.
Yeah. Okay, 9 successes.
I put everything in brawl and strength.
Yeah, he's not breaking that. So he is desperately clawing at the arm that's around him, but it's like a C-clamp on his throat. He cannot get out of it. He's just. That's his action. We're at the top of the round again. Aisling, your thing worked out beautifully. We're going to start at the bottom of the round.
I want to scare him into apologizing.
Yeah, the nightmare creature is going to attempt to break the hold this round again.
Yes.
The kid is going to hold for dodge and is watching right now and cheering. Yeah, choke him out. What are the rest of you doing? What are you going to be doing? Next up is actually in the turn order is Holly. The kid's not paying attention to you at all anymore. And is so excited about the front row seat to the beatdown.
How is the nightmare within Murtail Thwap range?
Not anymore.
Cool. Then I don't have to worry.
Yeah, you don't have to worry. The Aisling scare made it leap back right into the waiting arms of a very excited Chloricon. So it's just out of range.
Someday I will thwap, I'm telling you.
Someday we'll thwap him.
Then I don't if that was scaring toward Gira and away from me and our woodland youth, may I piggyback off of what Aisling did? And also be scary to back up farther.
You want to try to scare it to make it continue backing up?
Yeah, I don't have amazing autumn magic, but I can be very, very intimidating looking. I look very scary.
You could do that. I might throw a penalty at it because right now the creature's not paying attention to you guys at all.
Okay.
It's literally its head is facing up because Gitter has it in a chokehold and is currently the most terrifying thing. Like,
Okay, then don't worry about it. I'll hang out
Yeah.
later.
if you want to get the creature to continue backing away,
That was sort of the aim, but if they're not looking in a way that
Well-
would see me, that's fine.
if you wanted to, it's an easy pop down off the tree, and that would put you in range to slap it with the tail, and that would certainly give the push to continue pushing
Sure,
it
but
away
I
from
went
the
up
tree.
here to get the kiddo, so I'm not gonna leave him alone in the tree.
Tell him to get on you, follow you down. You have options.
I'll do it in a minute. I think it's fine if Holly just holds their turn defensively. That's fine.
Your tail just kind of swishes back and forth, daring anybody to try
Like
to
a
get close to
cat
this
that's just
trunk.
like, yep, try me.
Yeah. It's just like, somebody please try to get close to this tree right now. It just kind of swishes back and forth. And that's going to be your action for this round. So then, and you can always change your action too. You get a dice penalty, but you can switch your action up if you need to. So that's going to be Holly. After Holly is the kid. The kid, as I said, is just going to be shouting and like rooting and hollering, hooting and hollering. So the next up is going to be Gera. What are you planning on doing this round? I'm guessing you're just going to hold the choke and try to knock this bastard out.
God, what could I do from here? Yara is going to, if it's possible, sink the rear naked choke deeper, making this thing like either pass out or poof into darkness, or so just kind of like squeeze, like suffocate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting a little dark this episode.
No, it's time for it to take a nap. It's late and
it's time to
cranky.
go to bed now. It's called the dreaming.
Yeah.
It's called the dreaming, and it's time for sweet dreams. Characters with the useless. Okay, blah blah. Well, opponents kicks. I think the way this is going to work is you're just going to. I think the way that's going to work is that's just a flavor description of you continuing to press into the chokehold.
Okay.
Because when your turn rolls around, you're rolling. When your turn rolls around, you're basically going to be rolling damage.
Okay.
To find out how much damage you do.
Sweet. So
it's going to roll for soak, and when it hits a certain level on the bashing damage scale, it's going to black out. So, yeah. So that's going to be your action. So what are you doing this round, Aisling?
I still would like to scare it. My intention is to still manipulate my second shadow, because holy crap, I have a second shadow. I already, yeah.
I'll tell you what I told Holly. It's going to be at a slight penalty right now because this creature is number one terror right now is the Chloricon that's choking it out.
Yes. But specifically, I already did Boo, so now it's time for Peek, and I would like my shadows to cover its eyes because it's time for bed.
Sorry, a little boo peek?
A little boo peek.
Thank you.
Okay. You're going to go ahead and use the same cantrip again?
Yes.
All right, do it. So this is gonna be I'm gonna increase the difficulty on this one. Like I said, it's gonna be a bit of a penalty because of the condition that the fight is in right now.
Okay.
But I'm only gonna increase the difficulty by 1.
1 from its previous bunked state, or
no, I'm sorry, this is not gonna be for the cantrip roll. This will be for the intimidation roll.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be a little harder to intimidate, but the cantrip will go off just fine.
Okay.
So
So I'm only rolling intimidation.
No, you're going to make your cantrip check first.
I am going to do that
yeah.
too.
Yes. And that's going to tell us how much the difficulty is lowered for the intimidation check. So go ahead and roll your art in your realm
2.
again. 2 successes. All right. So I was increasing the difficulty of the intimidation check. It was naturally a 6. It's going to go up to 7. You're going to lower it down to 7, 6, so 5. So make an intimidation check at 5.
Okay.
Oops.
And tell me what you get.
3.
3 successes. Okay. So I have to roll for it. I rolled 2 1s and an 8. So this thing is screeching. Whereas you managed to get up there and actually push through the difficulty and the dice penalty and managed to scare the crap out of this thing yet again as you get up there with the shadows looming over and it kind of casting this darkness over its face. It starts to making a screeching sound and is desperately clawing to get out. But right now it just wants to leave. It just wants to leave so bad.
And as the the tendrils are creeping over and blocking out any light that's left in this forest from this creature's eyes, Aisling just whispers,
You should apologize.
as it just envelops over the whole face.
All right. Gitter, what are you doing? You're just gonna hold that choke?
Yeah, she's just continuing to hold it. Like this thing is just thrashing about, and her little like hairdo just kind of like slowly fraying, and she's just sinking it deeper. Like her eyes are shut, her neck is tucked in, and she's just
roll strength. Just a straight strength check. Difficulty is 6.
Right. 3.
3 successes. The dice are not with me tonight. It takes 3 more bashing damage and goes limp.
Does it fall back or forward?
No, it slumps.
It just goes standing.
Its knees buckle and it slumps.
I guess Yara just kind of stays on it though. She stays on it as it pops. She's gonna make sure it's napping in the dreaming.
I want to poke it with my stick.
It gets poked.
I think we got it.
Want to come down and poke it too?
Oh yeah. Hold on. Oh. Reaches up and takes a twig off the tree and just hops on down and rushes right up as it hits this kid hits the dirt kind of heavy, just kind of charging up through the grass and runs right up to this thing while you're holding it, Gita, and just starts whipping it like a piñata. Like, yeah, that's what you get. Just like bam, yeah. Think you could eat me? Think you could eat me? And just starts smacking again and again. The creature doesn't seem to be taking any actual physical punishment from this. It's just kind of
Now this kid's just twigging out.
Yeah. Bap, 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 bap. And then the kid turns around and looks at the rest of you and goes, yeah, woo! Like he did this. Like they did this. They're responsible for all of this. And then they just go, hi. And we are back here in the Barony of Olives in this nightmare forest. We're going to go ahead and jump right back into our game. When we last left off, yeah, our Chloricon just went full, just basically took a nightmare creature into the octagon and dealt with that rather abruptly. This thing has been slapped around a good bit by a childlike tree creature and is now very excited to meet all of you. This child has turned to face all of you and is just like staring at you wide-eyed again. Those brilliant ember-colored eyes, the way that you were all seeing them now up close is they don't actually look just like empty orbs of amber. They actually look like they have an iris and everything, but they look like they are made of pure tree sap and like golden amber. They have a slight glow to them, and they're a lot larger than a typical human's eyes. And the kid looks at the three of you and goes, holy shit, are y'all Kithane? Y'all are Kithane.
Where did you learn that word?
One of my best friends is a Kithane, lives here in the woods.
No, I mean shit.
Oh, my best friend taught me. He doesn't cuss very often. You usually have to get him pretty upset. But when he does cuss, it's really funny because he never cusses. You can get him to do it. It's pretty great.
What's cussing?
Cussing is like when you are really mad and you want to think of the ugliest thing you can say at just anything.
Like eel?
What's an eel?
The ugliest thing I can think of.
Eel.
I
Eel.
suppose.
Okay. Eel.
Shit.
What are you doing out here?
I live here. I try
Oh.
to. Nods.
In the
rather-
woods?
Yeah, I've lived here all my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're actually trying to get through it. Would you be our guide?
Sure. Where are you trying to go?
There's a spooky house at the other
His eyes
end.
widen immediately and goes, whoa, 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 whoa.
Well, you see, our this is Kiera. She attends school there.
Yeah.
Wait. Whoa. What? You don't look anything like anything that would come out of that house.
What sorts of things have you seen come out of the house? Any
Well,
heebie-jeebies?
kind of, that, and points at the thing that Gira just dropped onto the ground.
That's not a heebie-jeebie. I say it, Holly.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of that little bit.
Is it green? Does it look like a booger?
Oh, you're asking about the creature that just fell to the ground?
Yeah.
No, it looks more like it's
Like an ogre
Like-
or
yeah, kind of like a little more ogreish. But I would say like sort of a sickly green skin tone. Like it's like it died a long time ago kind of look, and it just kind of been left out, but it doesn't look corpseified. It just has that sort of sickly, gross color to it. Yeah.
Okay. Did we
you're
catch
not-
your name?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't tell you my name. Sorry.
That's all right. Names are very important. You only have to share it if you want to.
Well, I mean, you did save me from being eaten, so I guess that's probably a pretty nice thing to do, is to share a name at least after that. So, Emmeep.
Emmeep. It's
Yep.
nice to meet you.
Who am I meeting?
I am an Ashling.
What's an Ashling? Is an Ashling you?
Yes. Among
Never
other
met her.
things.
Okay. Are you also from the house?
No.
Okay.
I'm
Are-
from Burbank.
Is it cold there?
No. It's quiet.
Okay. Like quiet here, quiet?
No, nothing's like this quiet.
It didn't used to be like this.
Did
When
it
did
not?
it change?
Oh, it was a long time ago. It was you're gonna have to ask Hipper. I don't actually follow like time cycles. Hipper does, because
Oh.
Hipper's from the autumn world.
Your Cathane friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A boggin lives here in the woods.
I know a
First it-
Balkan. They're from land.
Yeah. Oh. Hey. Is that why you have fins? Are you from the river?
River, that. Oh, Kira, that's one of the little waters you were telling me about.
Yes, it's
River.
one
Yeah,
of those waters.
I know these
yeah.
ones. They're the ones that move. I think maybe I have some very, 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 very distant cousins in a river,
Huh.
but I don't know. I'm not really like a streamer. I'm more in the ocean.
Do you all have like really cool wheels?
No, my mermaid special. I'm Holly, by the way. Hi.
Emib. Hi.
Mermaid special.
I'm Gara.
Gara. Gara. Gara?
Gara.
Gara.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, pronounce it however you want. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Thanks for making sure this thing, and she kicks it with her foot, like the slumped over thing, making sure it stays quiet.
No problem. Yeah, figured I'd help. You know, we went through all the
You
trouble
did.
and all. So, what are y'all doing here? You're trying to get to the house? Are you? You keep calling it the house. I'm curious. Like,
Call it the house.
where are you coming from, and what do you think you're gonna find there?
Oh, well, where we come from, past this forest on the hill is a school, but it looks very different here. It looks more like a big castle or a mansion, which I
In the
suppose
autumn world,
in
right?
the autumn world, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got told about the autumn world. Okay. So you don't know anything about Grammy nails.
What kind of nail is that?
A really scary one.
How scary.
The scariest thing I have ever seen in my life.
Is it a person, place, or thing? I love games.
Grammy nails is, well, she's Grammy nails.
Okay, person. And she lives in the school?
That thing, the place up on the hill, that's her hut.
Does she come around often?
Sometimes comes to her garden, but Grammy doesn't stay out too long, thankfully.
Garden? Where
That's what she calls the forest now, ever since she corrupted it. It's
okay.
Grammy Nails' garden.
Grammy nails.
That explains quite a lot.
Or the Garden of Grammy Nails, if you want to say it like hipper.
Grammy nails.
Can we meet Hipper? Hipper seems to know a lot of good stuff. I see why you're best friends.
Yeah, no, hipper's great. Super nice. Lets me stay at his place all the time.
That's a
But
very good
I guess he kind
friend.
of has to because he's a boggin. But you know, he's still really nice. He's just a little y'all are Kithane, so I can probably talk to y'all about this. I mean, Hipper's told me a
Yes.
little bit about like the courts and all that, but it's so boring and I didn't really listen that much. But I'm just gonna assume that because y'all are Kithane, y'all are okay and on the level here. So if I can be honest with you, since y'all are Kithane,
Yes.
this is like, because we're talking about seeing, I'm only bringing this up because we're talking about seeing Hipper.
What's
And
wrong
because
with him?
he's starting to act kind of different. It's been like real subtle for a while now, for a long while. And he doesn't like to talk about it, but I don't think he's well. I don't think he's well at all. I mean, he's a little difficult sometimes because as sweet as he is, he gets really upset fast if you try to get him to ever leave his house. And it's gotten worse over time. Like and you see Emip kind of rubs their arm a little bit, like they're kind of uneasy, and says, he gets really sad and confused. And then he gets really angry. And he's never been like mean to me, but he's been mean. Do you know what I mean? And he kind of he seems lost sometimes, and then he comes back and he constantly tells me not to worry and that he's fine, but obviously that's not true. And I'm starting to worry about him. And for the longest time I didn't want him to leave, but now I'm starting to think maybe he should leave. He once told me a long time ago when he first got here that he was just visiting, but he's been here ever since. And maybe since you're Kithane, maybe you could take him away, but not to Grammy Nails. Never to Grammy Nails.
Have people been taken to Grammy Nails?
Probably. She's awful. There's not as many tree children as there used to be. And that's not just because of Grammy Nails, that's because of the grok as well. It's kind of like a double hitter. It's
Aisling, what's a grok?
Do I know what a grok is?
Y'all have never heard of the grok before.
No, it's some land stuff. Aisling will know.
Is that a grok? Points at.
Oh no, the grok.
The grok. You have so many secrets.
Well, if you're not from here, it all sounds like a secret. But if you've been here a while, this is what it's like.
This is our first time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the grok is bad. The grok is kind of the big bad of Grammy Nails' garden. He kind of is.
Is he a henchman?
I think they're more of like. I think the grok just doesn't want to mess with her. I think the grok just kind of.
I hand over the twig that I was holding like a sword, and I say, "Draw him."
Yes. Draw him.
And I kick leaves out of the way on the ground.
Okay. So he kind of looks like, I don't know. He kind of looks like I guess he's got like tusks, and then he's got it's like a long face like this, and he has 8 eyes. I've counted them. He has 8. Let's put it right here. Okay. Then he's really big too. Like, if you're not careful, one time I came across him by accident. I thought he was a rock. It scared me. But he's not very fast, and thankfully he wasn't hungry, so I was able to get out of there. But and then he has and his tongue is a hand. It's so gross. Like when he licks his face, this meaty like hand comes out and like scratches the side of his face, and it looks kind of like this. It's real nasty. And his hands, they kind of look like tree limbs, like this. And he points up at the tree over his head, and he's like, they're always dripping with like dark sap and stuff. So like it looks like claws, and he keeps sketching, and he's like, so he's got like a pig face, and then he's got this big, and he wears this really nice vest, which is unfortunate because Hipper tells me that the grok actually has pretty decent taste when it comes to like making. Hipper made me this vest. Do you like it? He made me this vest.
It's lovely.
I never wore clothes until I met Hipper. I didn't know what clothes were, but it turns out they're a lot of fun. You can wear like all different types of clothes.
They really
sparkly sometimes. It's really cool.
What's that?
Sparkle?
Is that a type of? Is that a fabric?
It's like the glinting of stars captured upon cloth.
Okay.
And a shiny.
Oh, like lightning bug shiny?
If it catches the light.
It's a lightning bug.
Tiny glowing bug.
So it's
we have this.
Made of, okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, the grok is big and stinky and just really ugly and really mean. Really mean.
Then this is a good likeness.
You look down and see
this grotesque picture.
Yeah, the picture that Amip is drawn is just it doesn't look like anything. It just looks
I was hoping it was just spirals.
Yeah. Like just drew circles all over where, but I mean,
for some reason I can absolutely see it.
Yeah, it just sounded like when Amip was like going through the description, it just sounded like he was just taking they just sounded like they were just grabbing things out of like the air, like, and then he's got this for hands, and he's got a pig face, and then he's got 8 eyes and all this other stuff, and just like if you were anywhere else, it would sound like a kid was taking you for a very funny ride.
That's exactly probably what it looks like in here, though.
Yeah, I mean the soil that's at the ground where he's been like drawing this, they've been doing their best, but it looks like the ground is just completely butchered. You don't know what the heck it is that they just drew.
Well,
Interesting.
maybe drawing looks different in the dreaming. You just have to use your imagination. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have 2 foes that we know of. I picked up a rock earlier, and the forest bled. Is that normal? Do I
It
need
used to be like that.
It didn't.
No. Everything
Oh.
changed when Grammy Nails got here. Everything changed.
Then this forest indeed has many sores.
Looks at many rocks all over the ground.
Hipper knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do.
Is it safe to meet Hipper?
Yes, but we're gonna have to go past Whispering Man.
Well, we have Whispering Girl, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll speak at the same tone.
No, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Please don't
No.
talk to him.
No?
No, he's really annoying.
Because he whispers?
Because he always wants, if you wake him up, he always wants to talk. And then if he too can be really like, he's not mean, he's just got like a bad attitude, I guess. I don't know. He demands you telling him stories, and he never wants to give anything back. He never wants to tell stories in return, and he's always just, he's real bossy. He's hurt me a few times. He's hurt people. Like he's really annoying. He's really, really annoying.
Okay.
But there's no other way to get to Hipper's place. You have to go past Whispering Man.
Whispering Man.
If you wake him up, he's going to want to talk to you. So just try not to wake him up.
I think we can manage.
Okay. I guess I could take you to Hipper now.
Yes, please.
Appreciate it very much.
Before I do, just real quick, please, if you can, help him. He's really not the same as he used to be. I really think he's in trouble.
We're here to help our friend too. We'll try.
Oh. Well, I want to help you help your friend. If you're going to help my friend.
Would you
Well,
like to?
You're really good at like being around a forest, right? Because you're kind
I'm
of foresty.
It's kind of my home, yeah. I was born here.
Because I got here and I thought I only went like this far, push. But instead I had gone like whoosh, really far
yeah.
in.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you're talking about. It didn't used to be like that either.
But then we lost our friends and we're not really good at finding our way here. And
Okay.
could if you friends help?
Would you like to join us?
Sure. Yeah. I'll see if I can get us past Whispering Man. And then you'll probably need to stay the night at Hipper's because you don't want to be in the garden when the sun goes down.
How do you know if the sun has gone down?
Looks at looming darkness.
Oh. Yeah, you'll know. This forest, the garden gets darker and the grok comes out.
Sounds like this garden thrives upon darkness, so...
It didn't used to be like this. Sorry you're seeing it like this. This place used to be great. Now every day is kind of like, well, this, and points at the creature laying at your feet.
Well,
Can
there
I
must be
quick?
some way to bring light to this.
Is there? Can I listen to the inside of this creature's tummy?
Sure.
Just
Put your
in
ear to
case-
its tummy.
I just want. Is there just in case there's a lingering sound? It eats things, so maybe we can.
Yeah, if there's like a let me out
Where's it?
sound, right? Just like I just give
Yeah,
a
you just hear the
listen and
muffled,
a little knock
"Pardon
on the
me.
belly.
Whoever's on the other side of the stomach, would you be so kind? Let's feed this
Honestly,
creature a laxative in the next hour or so.
yeah,
I
right.
would be deeply grateful, thank you." Yeah, you put your ear against the stomach of the creature. First of all, it's clammy and cold, and you don't really hear anything.
Okay, good.
No sound really. No squishy noises. No heartbeat. Nothing.
Quiet as a stone. Let's go.
Are we going? Okay. So recap for everybody. Try not to wake up the Whispering Man. Don't be out when the sun goes down. And then I think that was it. Yeah. We'll start there.
And help Pepper if we can, and help us find our friends if you can.
Right.
Those parts.
Okay.
Okay, but first quiet.
Yeah. And with that, Amit begins to sort of march away in the direction that you all came, making a sharp right turn in the opposite direction of where y'all were headed.
Oh. Aren't we so glad we met them?
Yes.
But however will I obey the first rule?
And she smiles and walks past.
I thought you were good at it.
As it just flies right past Holly, like
Whoosh!
So journeying through this woods, it indeed is. Oh, you know what? This might give you, the journey to our next checkpoint, which is the Whispering Man, is a good 45 minutes to an hour travel of y'all just kind of moving quietly, stopping every now and then as Amit throws their hands up and just kind of looks around for a second and says, "Okay, I think we're okay," and then keeps moving. But you all do get the sense that Amit is in fact picking up on signs of danger. They very skillfully avoid with all of you, guiding you through the woods and whatnot. You find some pathways that you would have absolutely missed had you not had a guide like this, moving you into the tree lines and whatnot and moving past large rock faces. As this is happening, I think in particular, it is going to be appropriate, considering the character and what the character does. I think now is the time for a very unusual roll. I'm going to have Aisling roll perception plus grammary.
Okay. My notes have that as pronounced Grimmy Grims.
Grimmy Grims. Character's
Grimmy
understanding
Grim
of magic
percent.
lore and the ways of glamour. And you can do this too. If you have any ranks in grammary, you can do this as well.
Oh, I have Jack of all trades.
If you've got 1 dot in it, you should be able to make the roll.
That's what Jack of all trades gives me.
Yeah, so perception and grammary.
My question to you is if insightful or fairy lore?
Fairy lore absolutely comes into play here.
Oh, okay, wait, hold, holy butts. Holy butts. Okay. And the difficulty is 7, correct?
No, difficulty 6.
6,
Standard difficulty roll.
no, okay.
Did Gina just break the Barony of Olives? Are we going to have to end the episode early?
A cliff rises from the earth, dangling us upon it. Yes.
What did you roll?
Okay, 1 sec.
Gina's like, I need to get the calculator. Give me a minute. You know we're not playing Exalted, right? This is Changeling the Dreaming.
Question.
Yeah.
When I roll a 10 after it's exploded, it explodes again?
No, it doesn't. You don't re-roll the 10s. The 10s just give you the 10s explode into an extra success. Yeah.
We're doing 10s as 2 successes, like fast style now, rather than the explosion.
Yeah. Then I got a 12.
Okay.
I rolled 10 die, and each one of them was a success, and they had 2 10s. So 12 successes.
Wait, 2 10s?
Yeah.
You rolled 12 dice and 2 of them were 10s?
I rolled 10 dice. Each one of them was a success, and 2 of them out of the 10 were 10.
Okay.
Wow.
So 12 successes.
Nothing but winning. The Gina DeVivo story.
That was the most beautiful roll I've ever seen. It was like,
I've never heard in all my years of this game
all 10.
Anybody rolling 12 successes.
Her dice bow down.
That is spectacular. All right. that is mind-breakingly. I've never heard of that.
This spooky forest is feeding me. Nom nom nom.
I've seriously never heard of that. In all my years of playing White Wolf, I've never heard of anybody rolling a 12 success.
I had 1 6, which is why I was like, is 6s?
That's was like, incredible. Okay, well,
everything was a 7 or higher, and 6 or higher. Yeah,
with a level of achievement of that high, there's nothing to do except for give it to you. So here's how it works.
Okay,
Ashling. It starts off as a feeling at first as you're walking through and listening to me kind of jabber on about, the woods, before it was Grammy Nails' garden, we didn't really have a name for the woods, but it was really bright and beautiful in here, and just like describing what it used to be like. And you're listening to this, and you start making mental connections in your head from the experiences you've had since you first entered the near dreaming, to the disappearance of your friends. Something else is standing out to you, though, that draws your attention away from just the normal experiences that you've had so far and focusing more on the fact that you've had these experiences. And that kind of catches you by surprise. It's like one of those moments where you're like, what made me think of that song? And you start remembering something that Sir Petal Flickerwick told you. It starts as a nagging feeling at first. And then you start remembering what it was like after your chrysalis. That terrible, confusing time where the nightmare creatures were swarming around you and visions were coming to life, and the first time you saw your shadow. Then Sir Flickerwick and encountering your first Kithane and the stories used to be told about the dreaming, and that's when it starts to click with you. The stories about the near dreaming, the way you've always come to understand it from the beginning, and the way you've always had it described to you from people you've trusted, but also from the lore that you've learned and all the times you've done deep dives and spoken to people at freeholds when you were leaving Caer Angelus to arriving here at the Barony. Everything, even in your short time, you're a sluagh, and accumulating secrets and learning lore, that's what you do. That's your bread and butter. None of this feels right. It's all incredible, but the near dreaming, this feels more like what you remember being described as the far dreaming. These forests and these creatures and the experiences you've had. I mean, the near dreaming certainly is the dreaming. It's reflected there, and things can come up into the near dreaming all the time. There are plenty of legends that tell of stories of dragons coming up from the deep dreaming to hunt in the fields of the near dreaming and then returning to their places in the deep. But it's odd. Usually the near dreaming has a more mundane look to it. It looks a little closer to the autumn world. This looks nothing like the autumn world. But you're fairly certain that the near dreaming is where you are. you do see the reflection of the building that was Imogen Gale's School of Etiquette. If this was anywhere else, it simply wouldn't be there. The near dreaming is a reflection of the mortal world. And it's true, y'all are out in nature right now. So it's entirely possible, it's conceivable, Aisling would probably figure, that out in the woods in the near dreaming, all sorts of fantastical things that would happen. But even so, the woods themselves would still probably be reflected here in the near dreaming. And the way they exist now, this is really not what you expected. And it's not anything anybody has described to you. Something's very off about this. And by off, Aisling, I mean everything you know is wrong kind of off. The kind that you need to talk to someone about this, because this is a bit much. The best way to describe it is this feels like you're closer to the far dreaming than you are the near. And that shouldn't be possible. Not since the shattering, not since the time where the world of dreams broke away from humankind. The far dreaming should be harder to get to. And yet, somehow, this feels different. Not, you're certain you're in the near dreaming, but something is very strange here. And your knowledge of changeling lore, what you've been told about the world of the dreaming, stepping through trods and traveling the worlds of possibility and imagination, everything you've learned about the history of the Kithane, the shattering, the sundering, this doesn't feel like what you've been told, and you're not sure people know. It's enough to make a little bit of a creepy sensation on your skin.
Get up, Holly.
Let's go.
She kind of had stopped for a moment, like a little, not fully stopped, but when someone's lost in thought and they kind of slow their pace so they don't trip and or bump into something, and you see that she is sort of lost in thought, and
This is all very, 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 very wrong. I think our new friend is very much underestimating how. I think maybe Grammy Nails, or whoever is in charge at the school, the Trod. I think the Trod goes to the far dreaming. That's very bad. I think they found a way to connect to the far. And it's bleeding out.
Like at the school? When we were there in the Autumn World?
Oh, if that's true. Oh dear. Oh dear, if it bleeds out into the Autumn World.
We can't have that happen.
Oh, I thought this trip might be a little spooky and fun, but I think we might actually need to get out of here as soon as possible. I think we need to tell the Baron or someone important.
But what if he forgets? Like the other thing.
What other thing?
When I first met the Baron had said that he had met people like me before. And when we were about to go into the near dreaming just now, the Baron said that he had never met a merfolk before. And not like, teasing or anything, because I can figure that out. It's the same in water too. But, I really don't think he remembered that he'd met us.
That's not right.
Was he being sincere?
Yes. Both times.
Oh.
I think he had a crush on someone when he was with us. That was kind of the face he made.
Oh.
I don't know if I should have said that.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you for the secret.
Mm-hmm.
Well, regardless, we can't leave without Skeeter or Ruby.
No, it would be much too dangerous. But now the conundrum is, can we trust the Baron?
I think we can trust him. He's a good guy. Just what if we told him everything and then he just forgot it? What if someone is making him forget stuff? What if it's fey magic? What if it's other magic?
Oh dear.
That's entirely possible.
Are we there yet? Oh,
We're really close. We're really, really close.
I forgot.
You start hearing what sounds like a crashing waterfall up ahead. And
That was the song. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
She remembers the song.
Amit slows down and turns and looks at everybody and says, okay, we're just going to try to tiptoe past. This is the safest route. It's the best way to get to Hippers. Again, try to be quiet. If you wake him up, he's going to want to talk to you. He's really annoying.
Okay.
If you don't give him what he wants, he gets really mean. It's not worth it. And then you get... Anyway, forget it. Just don't wake him up. Just please.
You get what?
Well, I mean, you probably won't mind so much. And they point at you.
Me?
No, points at Holly and then says, but you get blasted with water.
What?
That doesn't sound so bad.
It's bad. I was hurled into a tree.
Oh.
Sounds like this person needs to learn some manners.
He's really old and really just mean sometimes when he doesn't
There's
give
no
you
age limit to proper behavior.
Well, that's probably true, I guess. I don't know.
Decency, at least.
He's as old as the forest. At least.
Oh.
Well, then we'll be very, very quiet.
Yeah, we'll all tiptoe. What is that again?
I don't know.
You said it.
I try to do a ballerina move.
Oh,
I try to go on my tippy toes and point to show tiptoe.
It's very much like that.
Oh, like this. And they just wheelie. Yeah, exactly.
oh, you were asking what tiptoeing was. I was so confused. Okay, sure. All right. Okay, let's do it. So when you emerge from the tree line, you see you have entered into a large open space where there is what looks like a pond that's about 60 to 80 feet wide. And you see Amit just come creeping out slowly, and he pauses, and they look around for a moment, and they keep looking over at the waterfall. And they just stare at the waterfall for a moment and then take another step. And you see sputtering coming out of the waterfall. And that's what gives it away, because you didn't notice it at first. But when you see the sputtering coming out of the waterfall and Amit freezes, you all glance in the direction and see the rock face of this cliffside that the waterfall is coming off of. You see two great sleeping rocky eyes. And this waterfall looks like a beard that is crashing down into the pond down below. And the sputtering, you can hear as water goes spurting out into the pond. This avalanche of water is creating this white foam that looks like a stringy white beard that's constantly flowing. And the rock face itself is the face of the Whispering Man. It towers up maybe about 50 feet and it's quite large. And when the sputtering happens and you see some of the water spitting outward from the waterfall, you realize it has the same countenance of, you can imagine, you can see the image of an old man with a big, heavy, thick beard, just kind of smishing around his nose like he tickled his nose in his sleep and is kind of trying to itch it without touching it. And then he's settling back into sleeping again. And Meep freezes, like just going, please, please, no, please, no, please, no. And just holds in place for a long moment, looks back at all of you, and is just giving you the, and then waits for a moment, and then starts tiptoeing again. Right around the banks of the water, you see is their little feet just kind of gently touch the surface of the water. And you see this great face of the sleeping Whispering Man, undisturbed. Just, you're pretty sure now that you've entered the clearing that sound of the rushing water is the breath. It's literally the Whispering Man going crashing down into the pond.
So cool.
They get to the other side and stop, and they go, just mouth the word quiet to you. Dex plus stealth checks to everybody versus the Whispering Man's perception plus alertness. Dex difficulty is 6. However, I'd like to remind you. Oh, real quick sidebar. I added a few. I just forgot to tell you guys off the top of the game. Not that we've used any yet, but just off the top of the game, I have added a few more perks to storyteller points, to story points that are given to us by the dreamers in the family. So story points, as a quick reminder, you can spend a story point once per game. They will grant you a specialization for whatever you're rolling right off the bat, which means 10s explode. You can spend a story point to make sure that whatever your roll is doesn't botch no matter what. You can spend a story point to stave off a point of banality, which is super helpful, but not probably something you have to worry about here. However, something you do maybe have to worry about here is you can spend a story point to stave off a point of nightmare, but not one that you've elected to get. If you decide to take a point of nightmare, you can't stave it off at the story point. The last thing that I've added recently, and y'all are going to love me for this, but it's just the way of the family works. You can hold on to your story points until the end of the game and spend them for a bonus XP. You heard that right. So you can hold on, and family will award you a bonus XP at the end of every session. Which Sam is like, I'm gonna lacy this bitch.
You mean convert my temporary bonuses into long-term investments until my character is ridiculous? Yes, that's exactly what I'm
So that is a thing that y'all can do. So keep that in mind. Though I would like to say that you can only do the XP burn once per cycle of story point. So once a month essentially. So you can't burn it every game. You don't get 4 bonus XP every month. So, all right. Let's do a group roll. It's Dex plus stealth, and thankfully it's not like Forbidden Lands where the lowest person with stealth rolls. I love that mechanic, by the way. I love that mechanic.
How much of it is just that I despise
it just makes sense, and I love it. I'm probably going to adapt it.
At the expense of fun.
Yeah, here we go. All right, so roll. It's versus the Whispering Man's. Okay. And what did y'all roll? 2? 3?
Hold up.
1. All right. Y'all are creeping across the bank. One by one. Being mesmerized by the sight of a waterfall mountain face of that size and immensity causes a little bit of trepidation, to the point where you all feel very motivated not to wake up the mountain. And You decide to do your best to remain quiet. It's impossible to tell who it was or what it was, but it's clear. It's clear to everybody immediately when the rushing sound of the waterfall actually starts to slow. You hear the and that draws the attention of everyone looking, and you see the rocks, their eyes just, you hear the crumbling, you see stones start falling off of the cliffside and bouncing down to the below, and the rocks, the eyes open, and either the eyes are made of pure black obsidian or they're just pits of darkness, you can't tell. But when the eyes open, you see the rock face, you hear the crunching, crumbling sound. It sounds like thunder as the mountain changes expressions. And the waterfall, even though it's still flowing, noiselessly crashing into the water down below, no longer making the sound of a waterfall. Almost as if the sounds of waterfalls that you've heard throughout your entire lives have been, in fact, the snoring of the Whispering Man. The water parts a little bit as you can see something is moving underneath, and you hear this thundering echo of a voice go, and just thunders outwards, and you see Ameep just cringe, and you hear, Ameep, I see you there. I see you there creeping past my bank, and you've brought people with you, putting your feetsies in my pond and moving past me without so much as a word. You thought you could sneak past me, did you? You just see the water start to disturb. Meep turns and goes, no. It's just last time that I was here. Speak up, will you? Last time I was here, I woke you up and you spit me into a tree. You were rude, boy. You were rude. And Ameep turns and looks at all of you and goes, I was dressed as a boy last time. I kind of do what you can so he doesn't recognize me, kind of thing. And you just speak up. I was just telling them all that you were very nice and we didn't want to wake you up because, you know, you're sleeping and it's rude to wake people up when they're sleeping. That gets a pause from the Whispering Man, who is doing everything except whispering right now. Yeah. And after a moment, it's very well. But you've been moving through the forest and you have strangers with you. I want news. I want news. What is going on beyond my pond? Tell me stories of the garden. What is happening, and who are these creatures you have with you? Go on. So this is Holly. Holly's a merfolk, and they don't swim in rivers. They swim in bigger rivers, really big rivers. And this is Aisling, and Aisling is wearing a top hat, and then this is Gira, and Gira is Gita's awesome. They choked out a nightmare. It was really cool.
Could not have done it without my friend's help.
And what brings the three of you here? Why are you in the garden?
Well, we are.
Aisling, I think.
Speak up!
Aisling just tells literally everything that happened, except you can't hear her over anything.
Speak up now! I can't hear you. Don't be rude.
She folds her arms, but satisfied that she at least said the thing.
What now? The roar of the man in the mountain.
She's quiet. Be nice.
What?
She's quiet.
Yes, indeed. That's what I said. It's too quiet. Speak up.
It's how she is.
How she is?
Yes.
Well, then you must come closer if I'm to hear you.
Not if you're gonna get me all watered.
Is she speaking?
Yes.
You see the brow furrow, and Meep stiffens and goes, just 1 second, and we'll fix this. And Meep says, and turns and looks at you, Aisling, and says, "Why aren't you speaking up?"
Do you know what a slua is?
No.
That is what I am.
I thought you said you were an Aisling.
I am. Someone can be more than one thing at once.
Have you been lying to me? And they put their hands on their hips.
No, it's a
I told you I was a tree child.
Yes.
You told me you were an Aisling.
That is my
You're an
name.
Meep, and she's an Aisling, and you're a tree child, and she's a Slua,
Oh.
and they're quiet.
Your name is Aisling?
Yes.
Oh, that's cute though. Oh, and you called yourself an Aisling. That's really cute. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
get spit into the trees in a few seconds if we don't tell him something.
I can't speak louder than a whisper.
Okay.
What do we tell this?
Where are its ears?
I don't know. I've never understood how it works.
Can you ask him?
You want me to ask the Whispering Man where his ears are?
Yes.
Okay. Hey. Hey. Turns back and looks at the waterfall and says, I thought one thing that might help us is if we knew you want us to come closer, but maybe if we knew where your ears were, we could get real close to your ears and then you could hear everything we were saying. Ears? I'm a waterfall child. Does it look like I have ears? Huh. Yeah. Yeah,
Fancy
Meep just says,
fishers.
"Oh, that's weird. I never really thought of it. I mean, somebody
Okay.
tell him."
I'll do it. I have an idea.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Holly is going to turn around,
Okay.
and they're going to say, if our talking is hard to hear, then why don't I sing you our story?
Sing?
And Holly is going to sing about the shadowy sea anemone and the guardian ray and the lion who swims with them
Hmm.
and how they've been traveling through a kelp forest and avoiding the shadows of the shark who circles and circles and circles, and I want to sing it as a lullaby to lull the Whispering Man back to sleep.
Roll charisma plus performance.
All right. Let's see, that's expression, this system, yes?
No, that's
Oh
actually
no,
a skill.
performance is its own stat. It's
Mhm.
okay. I put
Yeah.
points into that too. And I have Voice of the Songbird as a merit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I get 2 more for that, so that should be all of it.
Difficulty is
And
6. It's a contested roll. Go ahead and make it.
do you think we could find an ox crew who could help me warm up a little bit? Thank you.
Yes. In fact, somebody specifically messaged me on Coffee and said, please do this. So I'm happy to report that Wraith has just awarded you a story point.
Thank you, Wraith. Amazing. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. What was the difficulty?
Difficulty is 6. Yeah.
Cool. Then let's see. Those 2 explosions are for 4, and then that one is for 5.
Oh boy. 5 successes.
Mhm.
You see the expression of the rock face, this ornery expression of this bitter, like cynical rock, and the swishing of the waterfall, like he's expecting to have to blast all of you off the banks of the pond, which you can only imagine, having heard the tales from Ameep, being blasted through the air and into the tree. That's got to be the force of twice of a water hose. I mean, a fire hose, I should be more specific, which is, that's going to be bludgeoning damage at the very least. It's starting to, now that you know what you're looking at, it's starting to evoke some anxiety of what might happen next, if not a bit of frustration. And then breaking through that anxiety, you all get a glimmer of the ancient mariners' tales of the siren song that they believe they once heard. Tales that have been written about since humans started sailing the seas and telling stories about the strange mer creatures that they would see beneath the waves. They would enchant sailors to come to the shore's edge or the edge of a ship and would never be seen again. As Holly begins to sing, Ameep sits down and pulls their knees up to their chest and just starts listening. The forest for a moment grows like, the darkness doesn't feel quite as oppressive. And you can all imagine that creatures that are trying to exist in this shadowy hellhole of a forest have stopped for a moment to pay attention. And the pained expression of this angry whispering man starts to turn to one of indignation. And then slowly, kind of, you can hear the rocks cracking and crumbling as the head almost turns a little bit, like trying to understand what it is he's hearing. And the expression begins to soften for a moment. And you all hear Holly basically tell the merfolk's tale of the journeys and singing it out. It's, with that many successes, it's moving, to say the least. And each one of you can only imagine of what, like, getting just a little glimmer of what these ancient songs sound like coming from these creatures of the Kithane. The whispering man's facial expression visibly softens, and I do mean that unironically, being that it is a rock face. You just see the furrowed brow kind of relax a little bit, and you see the waterfall kind of breach upwards, the way a thick mustache might when somebody's tucking their bottom lip in with a like a tight grandpa style smile. And you hear this deep rumbling, like almost as if the old man water fountain was saying, well, isn't that nice, as he's listening to this. And the eyes, you see the eyes begin to dip, the eyelids begin to droop a little bit. And Ameep glances over, and when Ameep sees that, you just see the excitement and happiness on Ameep's face, and they just kind of stare and don't say anything and just watch, and keeps nodding and like, you're doing it. And a few moments later, you all hear the rush of water crashing down into the pond below as the whispering man returns to their slumber. Just yeah, everyone is just quietly kind of like not touching palms, just kind of and was like, Ameep rushes up to you, Holly, and places their hands on both your shoulders and looks you in the eyes and goes, that was so great. That was so great.
Glad I could help.
Super annoying. Okay, let's go.
Beautiful.
And the three of you push past the whispering man and move past that pond. It's about another 30 or 40 minutes or so of travel when it starts to become much darker, and you start seeing lightning bugs coming out into the forest. You start seeing little bitty specks of light, greens and yellows, oranges, blues, reds. Not your typical lightning bugs. It almost looks like Christmas lights on wings, just kind of blinking and flying through the darkness, until you come across a hut that, for anybody who's got a culture and who has seen the movies, for a split second, you would think that whoever this Boggin is might have been vaguely inspired by Yoda for the sides and the way this hut looks. It looks like somebody has basically carved out a small hut that is now covered in moss all over the top. It has a couple of circular windows out in the front, but it looks like a hobbit hole essentially, without the circular door. It has like a big, like typical looking medieval style doorway out the front. But you do see what looks like a couple of lanterns that have been left outside that are just gently swinging and creaking back and forth. And there's just a sign out front that says no thank you. That's all it says. Painted and is just hammered into the, and he goes, okay, yeah, we're here. We did it. We're here. I can't believe you did that too. That was great. This is going to make a great story. This is going to make a great. Hipper is going to love this. Let's go meet Hipper.
Okay.
You all travel up to the door, and Amit goes ding, 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 ding. It says, Hipper, it's Meep. It's a Meep. I'm here. Are you there? I'm here. One sec. One sec. All right. I'm coming. One moment. One moment. Oh, and the door opens and you see a man with gray hair, curly gray hair. It's a boggin for sure. Stands at about 3.5 feet tall, perhaps. Is dressed in very fine looking clothes with a vest. Very nice, like dress slacks on, fine, looks like leather boots, deep greens and purples and grays, and is in fact maybe hitting your stereotype button a little too hard because he does have a pipe in his hand as he's just kind of like, looks like he's digging out some something he's put in the pipe as he swings open the door. He has a single monocle on that is just kind of wrapped down into his pocket, and he opens the door. He has a very friendly face, and he goes, Hoovy, what are you doing tonight? And he freezes when he sees the three of you and goes, gods. And his eyes roll back into his head and he faints. Hits the ground, completely unconscious. And that is where we are going to stop tonight's game.
Someone fell off the cliff. Oh
no. That'll be the end of tonight's story. Y'all, good game. Good game. GG. Let's dole out some XP real fast. Oh man. So yes, you can, if you so choose, if you want to activate the aforementioned stuff this evening, you have that option. But let's go ahead and right off the top, just to streamline this a little bit, everyone gets 1 XP right off the top of the bat. I would like you. I'm gonna combine. So the next 2 things is learning curve and role playing. I'm gonna combine them both. So you're going to get 2 XP, but I want you to dole out the 3rd XP. Who do you want the XP to award that you would award to? Who do you want that to go through role playing tonight? And we'll start with you, Gina.
I wanted to go to Sam specifically because the line about stinging and also being someone's home broke me to my core.
Yeah, yeah, destroyed you.
Destroyed.
Utterly destroyed.
That was so beautifully put.
My favorite thing is that tonight, Holly, I learned through Holly, knee jerk, what in the sea they think y'all are. But that was also a beautiful setup, Gina. That was.
Sam?
I would like to give it to Adriana because I love not scared, definitely not scared. Who would ever think Kira scared Kira?
Yeah.
She can't fight shadows like that she can't see, so she's like,
then why is there shadow boxing, huh?
Yeah, you got me.
Dun, dun, dun. Adriana?
I want to give it to Gina for the description and like just the way Ashley just, her personality just is kind of like thriving in the dark Just
She loves the spooky.
it's just I love it.
Yeah.
Like and the making the shadow creature too, and like
I love the way you use magic, Dina. It's so good.
So
Oh my
I'm gonna give out a
gosh.
bonus XP for the song. 'cause that was
Oh my
brilliant.
god.
I'm gonna give
Yeah.
out a bonus XP for the bunk of shoving leaves in your mouth
Thank you.
to cast the bunk. And I'm gonna give out another XP also for the Gira being scared. Because that was the thing that I made a note of too.
I also just really like Gira went for a very, very sensible grapple. And I want to express appreciation for that.
Yeah.
One of the most commonly like messed up, like misrepresented holds. And
yeah.
you did proud by the rune.
It helps when the player actually knows how to do it and has done it.
Thank you.
Huge
so much.
bonus. All right, y'all. Well, that's gonna do it for tonight's session. Thank you again for all the story points. There are so many of them. Hopefully we'll get through them all this month. But I am keeping the log here of who is got story points to give out. Y'all, thank you so much for supporting the StreamPunks and letting us tell these stories with you and being part of the family. Ox Crew family, SuperPunks, we love you all so much. And we will catch you next Monday where hopefully we'll have the full Motley again. But until then, everyone, sweet dreams.